whoever all these other top players are, there's no way you're gonna beat them, and you don't know frame data in today's time. Many people want to be fantastic fighting game players. Many people want to hop into the FGC. We've seen lately, especially like with City of the Wolves and Street Fighter and Tekken, the Seijan slams and things of that nature. Newer people have been getting into fighting games and playing Dibble and Dabbling, a lot of popular streamers and stuff. So if one of the questions that's raised is, man, do I have to really know frame data to get good at fighting games? Do I really have to study it? Do I really have to know it? Like, is that something that I have to do in order for to be the very best that no one ever was in fighting games? Can I beat Mr. Gaming Love ever in a match if I don't know frame data? Will I ever stand a chance against the great MC Amazing if I don't know, the frame data on that cross up? Y'all let me know. Starting with you, Sherlock Holmes. Which one is it for you?
I would say no. I would say, like, I'll put it this way, like, I feel that you don't necessarily need to know frame data. What frame data is just a translation of what's happening on screen. Like, it's what you're seeing on screen is being translated in a way that's easier for you to comprehend, at least in my opinion. Because if you've seen a move enough and you've like played enough matches, then you don't really need to know frame data to know that it's like know the timing on like how much like a block stun there is or anything like that, or how long you whether or not your move is punishable, or what's called like like if people are to counter hit you, or how long it takes for a move to come out, and make sure you don't get smacked in the face to have your moves interrupted. But I mean, you can learn that by just playing the game. But the thing about it is it'll take you like a longer time. But if you know the frame data, then it doesn't take you as long. It's like you're basically flipping instead of like going through all the process, you're kind of sort of flipping to the back of the book and looking at all the answers, and then going back and then reapplying them, actually applying them, you know. And it definitely it really does help. Like, I will say, like having things like frame kills and stuff like that, like those are things that you could do without frame data. But in order to like be consistent, I feel like in order to be consistent with it, or at least to like have a better idea of how the process works and what's going on behind the scenes when you're playing the game, I think like frame data is like it's I don't think it's like 100%. I don't think it's like necessary. Like, if you don't learn frame data, you're never going to win. I don't think it's like that. But what I do think is that it does make the process of getting better and learning matchups and seeing what you're allowed to do and not do. Like, I think that it makes things a lot more. It kind of puts it like right there on the line. Like, this is clearly what's going on here. I block this move. I'm minus 15 or whatever on block, and that means that they're plus 15, so that means I can't do anything. I don't have anything. Like, my fastest moves are like, coming out of that are like what, like plus 10 or something like that, like a 10 frame move, and you're not going to be able to do anything, because now you're like minus 15 or something like that. Just like generally speaking, like not like most moves don't do that as far as I know, but it's like it's easier to know that, okay, it's not my turn. I probably shouldn't be pressing anything if I block this particular move. And then you start learning like the frame data for like, people being knocked down and stuff like that. And then it just kind of builds upon itself. And this is stuff that you don't necessarily have to feel out or learn through experience. I mean, you're going to have to learn through experience, like how it applies in the battle, but it's just not, I feel like it's just not as much of a rocky trip if you actually, it's a lot smoother, I think, if you actually know frame data. So I would say that it's not 100% necessary, but if you want your learning process to go a little bit smoother, maybe even a lot more smoother, then I would probably recommend learning frame data.
All right, it's on you, Mr. Gaming Love. I think Evan maybe saved you a little bit of time.
So I think we've actually talked about this subject before, this topic before, And I'm under the stance that I do think that learning frame that. So I put it like this: getting good at fighting games or learning fighting games, getting slightly above average. You can do that without learning frame data. For a long time, I didn't know frame data. I didn't even understand I didn't even know what it was. Begin to understand what frame data was and how it was applied in matches. So, and I think that I've been pretty okay in fighting games for the most part throughout me. Like when I actually like started taking them seriously. I played people online before. I used to play with Wolfcrone before he was known as Wolfcrone. He's under the name Porklo King. I played with him before he even like started going to tournaments. And I don't necessarily think he knew frame data, but I knew he was a really good player. Like I knew he just had a feeling, he had an understanding for the game. He's just really good at the game. And then lo and behold, soon after he starts going to tournaments, he's tearing up with Viper. And I would assume he probably started learning frame data afterwards. And who knows, maybe not. But I do think if you want to get to the next level, me personally, I think learning frame data is only going to help you because, like he just mentioned, you have knowing something. To me, knowing something is better than just guessing at it. Because if you guess at it, then you're like, well, is it going to work? I think it's kind of akin to learning to play an instrument by ear versus just actually learning music theory and stuff like that. So you know exactly what key to press, what this is. You don't have to like kind of guesstimate with your ears. Okay, what key is that? Let me find that key on the piano and search for it. You just know. It's a lot better with your offense and your defense because if you do something on somebody on block, like a block string, you know the frame data. You don't have to worry. Okay, I know what's going to happen. They have this option to do. They can only do this option. So it opens up your options because you can do more things because you know what's going to happen. If you block something and then hey, I know that's move is +5, so I can't press anything here. But as opposed to somebody that doesn't know, because a lot of times the frame data is the framework of any video game. It's not just fighting games. Any video game that has frames of animations, they're the underlying skeleton. So that's just how things work. But the visual cues can be sometimes different from that. I've heard so many people say, and even myself sometimes, but I've heard a lot of people say, man, that looked like that should be punishable. It might look that way, but what does the frame data say? So if you look at something, this looks like it should be fast enough. That's not how that works. Everything is reliant on that exoskeleton of frame data. Like that underlying skeleton is like, that's what it matters. So if you know that stuff, you're only helping yourself. And especially when you're playing these better players, because most people that are at the higher levels usually know frame data. So you're only going to help yourself by knowing it and hurt yourself by not knowing it because they know so much. And it's like, hey, they can put you in so many situations and you're just like, you don't know anything. You're like, well, I don't even know what to do. I can't press a button. But if you understand the frame, then you can have a much better fighting chance. So I'm under the camp that I think that it only helps you. And you don't have to learn it to get per se good, but to get really good and excel to the high level, I think frame data is needed.
I don't think I'm gonna come at this at an angle that any differently than anybody else had said. Just put my own, perspective on it. But yes, you can get good at fighting games without knowing frame data, but you limit yourself. I mean, we've seen from the beginning of fighting games, back when there was no frame data, back when there was no patch notes, back when there was no, whatever. And we've seen some of the greatest fighting game players of all time come from that time. Choi Boy, Justin Wong, Tokido, Daigo, back when basically everything came from a feel of the game and basically how long you decided that you were going to lab to get you like the best results and be better than somebody else. So we've seen good people. We've seen some of the greatest players come from an era with not knowing the exact frame data. But in today's time with that knowledge out there, it's basically like somebody saying like, yeah, I'm a carpenter, but I still build my house with nothing but, hammers, nails, and elbow grease. It's like, well, yeah, you could do that, but I mean, I'm sure your carpentry business is finna suffer because you got people out here using any and every available option to them to be better at their job. And it's the same thing with fighting games. Like, I did not set my timer. Anyway, to be bigger and better at fighting games, every like they said, examples like if I know that I have you in a frame trap and you don't know that, like, yeah, maybe you might be somebody who has labbed enough, know enough, and can just has a feel for the game to know I can't do nothing. But most times people won't know, because like Devin said, or Mr. Gamelift said, like a lot of times people say this stuff looks this way. I look like I should be able to do something. It seems like I should be able to do something, but I can't do something. So a lot of times, what you don't know can hurt you, and people who do know will take advantage of you. So you can get good. I mean, we all grew up playing fighting games and were better than other people at fighting games, and we had no frame data. But when you start getting to the best of the best, and everybody's taking every available option to get good and be the best, you limit yourself. Like, I don't believe that there's no way you can beat consistently. You can beat people like Daigo, Punk the God, Idom, Mishka, Muska, Mickey Mouse, and whoever all these other top players are. There's no way you're gonna beat them, and you don't know frame data in today's time. It's just not gonna happen. You might be better than them, but their skill is good enough to add with their knowledge that they'll always come out on top. So that's what I feel. That's what I think. If I say anything, polarizing, y'all get mad at anything. So, whatever. Anybody else got anything to say?
Yeah, like based on like the kind of what you guys talking about, like how something looks on screen. Yeah, I mean, you can't trust a lot of that stuff, especially like if you're like crouch blocking something and somebody does a move and it looks like it should be an overhead, but it's not. Like it's as simple as stuff like that. Like it's like, oh, well, that looks like it should be an overhead. Yeah, but it's not, right? Like, and if you like knew the details, the properties of the move, you would know that that's not a that's not an overhead. So it's like, knowledge is power, man. Like even more so, like that's like just true in general, but it's even more so in like fighting games, and especially like the more you know about like frame data and stuff, like you're only really helping yourself. Like, and you're right, it does. I kind of like it really does kind of even the level the playing field, I guess, a little bit, because I mean, this is not information that is necessarily uh, like gate kept or safeguarded or anything like that. It's pretty out there. Like it's pretty free and available for most people to access. So it's like, I mean, you might as well, because it's everywhere. It's like literally everywhere. Even if you don't like say, okay, I don't use the frame meter in like Street Fighter 6. Well, you don't have to. I mean, it's like it's a good idea if you do, but you don't have to. But I mean, there are like whole websites that are dedicated to showing you what the frame data is on every move, and they have every move in like the character just sitting there doing the move. They even have like the hit and hurt boxes like indicated on them. Like this is like I mean, that's in the game, but I mean, like even like outside of the game, there's so many knowledge bases outside of the game dedicated to frame data. So it's like it's here, so you might as well use it. There's no real reason to not use it. And it's not and it always seems. I think the issue is that learning that, I think, feel like, as coming from somebody who had to eventually start learning that, it's a little daunting to begin with, because you're just like, wow, I don't know if that's like a thing I can do, if I think I can actually learn. But once you actually start, like, it's like you don't just jump in and just start like, I'm going to learn everything. Like you find a character that you like to play, and you learn the frame data for them. And then maybe you find a character that you're probably getting dusted by, and then learn some of the frame data for that character. And you just kind of eventually just build upon like some of that knowledge, especially like stuff like jab, this jab is 5 frames, this move is like 4 frames or something like that. But then like then you start doing that, and you start learning all the frame properties for like all these other moves and stuff, and eventually, before you know it, you like know your whole command list. You know all of the what's called frame data for your command list, for the command list for the the character that you hate, and then you might know for like a couple more. Like, so I think like people need to give themselves a little bit more credit when it comes to learning frame data. Like, I think like people don't give themselves enough credit. They think, oh, I can't do that. That's too difficult. It's like, actually, it's really not, once you actually start getting it, incorporating it into your playstyle, you'll find that it's a lot easier than you think it is.
The road to going 0-2 is filled with a lot of good players. I'm sure it's a lot of regional scenes and locals that people would say like, man, this guy's a good player, man. Like you should get some good matches in with him. And they go 0-2 it. I mean, we know it. We've heard the stories all the time of people that just hate that they go to tournaments and I'm 0-2, 0-2, 0-2. That's filled with a lot of good players. Like it's gonna be like those steps that people are willing to take that others won't, that's gonna separate you. You know, like people talk
Yeah.
about Kobe Bryant a lot, you know. Like when everybody was chilling, he was practicing. When everybody was, out, doing the once again the Mickey Mouse Shuffle, out in clubs and stuff like that, he was practicing impossible shots. So, and it showed. So it's the same thing with fighting games. I mean, you just don't want to limit yourself. Like, why do you say you want to be the good or great or the best and you're just limiting yourself? But at the end of the day, I mean, if you just want to be a casual, having fun with friends and stuff like that, I mean, of course you don't. I mean, you could just literally, do like I used to do playing Devin and them, just learn how to low sweep real good and throw a couple Hadoukens. I still a match or two, but you know.
Yeah, you mentioned that's one, the fact that we just have the tools now that most fighting games just come with the frame data in the game. That's already just a tool that's just so valuable. Because what I started doing and I saw people do before is like, hey, he just mentioned you fight a character, you hate this character just bodies you. You're like, okay, let me go to the lab and let me put these situations and let's run through them. What are my options here? What's the frame data? And over time, you keep doing that, more than likely you should be able to fight against this character better. Even like I was thinking about this. Imagine if you were like a professional basketball player or just a football player in general. You ain't gotta be professional, high school football player, and you just don't learn the playbook. You don't, all the plays we running, you just like, nah, I'm good. Like you're a talented, athletic person, right? But you just go out, nah, I'm not gonna look at the playbook. I'm just gonna run my route. I'm good enough to. It's like, bro, you don't know where the ball's going. You don't know what is going on with like the formation. It's kind of akin to that. But if you actually look, I know what's going on. Okay, I got to be here this time. It's so it's somewhat similar. I know that's like, it may be a weird analogy, but I think it kind of translates. You just, when you look at the frame data, you give yourself just the option to just be better, even with damage. If you know frame data, this allows you to get more damage because, like, let's say you get a counter hit on something, that changes frame data. If you get a counter hit, you get extra frames plus frames. So if you know that, you'll know, hey, I can do this route instead because it does more damage. But if you don't know that, you're leaving damage on the table. So just little stuff like that. It really only just helps you. I heard Filipino Champ said once, he's like, yeah, as I'm playing, I'm counting frames. And before I knew how, like, what frame data was, how it worked, I'm like, what is he talking about? I'm like, this sounds ridiculous. You're counting frames. What I'm thinking is like a dude looking at the screen, like he's in the Matrix. He sees binaries and stuff. I'm like, what are you talking? And as I learned frame data, I'm like, then I learned frame data. I'm like, I get it now. He's like, okay, I hit him with this move. I know what that move is. Okay, I'm counting the frames of, hey, I'm +3 here. I can, if I do, my next move is 8-frame startup, it's gonna shave 3 frames off. So this next move is 5 frames. I'm like, I get it now. But like he said, you'll think it's impossible because, of course, we all say like fighting games, the FTC has its own terminology, its own language. A lot of this stuff will be foreign to people if they just hear it out of context and they don't know what's going on. What's a meaty, Okazumi, tech, tech trap, all this stuff. People it just sounds because you don't know what it is. But once you start learning it, it just helps you, man. Like a chicken block. Like you say it's a chicken block, somebody, a fuzzy guard. Like, what is a fuzzy guard? Chicken block? What? Nobody, it just sounds foreign. And that's the same thing with frame data, even though it's literally the makeup of video games in general. It's literally just the DNA to video games. It's just frames of animation, just 1/60th of a second. So, I just think that it helps you overall. More damage on combos, better situations, and you just feel more comfortable. You're not as antsy. Also, you're not as anxious because I know what that is. Oh, he hit me with that. Okay, I know how to respond here. But if you don't, somebody hit you something. It's like, oh, what do I do here?
Could you imagine trying to like get through a Street Fighter 6 bracket, not knowing frame data, trying to get past all these Mr. I'm always plus M Bison? Like that would be tough. That would be
Yeah,
tough.
that would be very
Like
rough.
everything he do, like it's still my turn. It's like, like, all right, bro.